Today, we will talk about XLM, XRP, HBAR, and even SHX. And that is because of Australia once again, and the involvement of XLM and XRP in a CBDC and the Australian digital dollar. I have talked about it a couple of times, and I wanted to provide an update because I had just talked about it probably about a week and a half ago at this point. The RBA and Australian Treasury see no case for a retail CB prioritize a wholesale CBDC, which is extremely interesting because I have been talking about how Ripple and the XRPL have appeared to be positioned to take it on. It has come to my attention that just about 80% of the AUDD is on Stellar and 0% is on the XRPL. It is an interesting tie that Stronghold has technical connections into New Zealand because of its Stronghold Pay infrastructure at this time. And if we go back to review the APFII information I put out, which talked about how Stellar and XLM were involved in a cross-border payment pilot in between about 12 countries in the Pacific area, it specifically calls out cross-border coverage in Australia and New Zealand. Because Stronghold is an interoperability solution combining Stellar and the XRPL, it appears as if there is a case to present about how it can be tied in here too. Here though, I want to concentrate on how Stellar and HBAR appear to be taking over Australia. The announcement that the AUDD will be issued on the XRPL came out in June of 2022. However, the announcement explaining how it will come out on Stellar came out in of 2022. And as of September of 2024, the AUDD came out and published how it will also be including HBAR. I have had this called out a couple of times, and I can't find anything too terribly specific on it, but there is involvement in between HBAR and Australian Payments Plus, who just happens to have connections into the Hedera governing council. HBAR also has ties into Accenture, and it's interesting because MTech has ties into Universal Digital Payments work too. And I'm pretty sure it has ties into the UN, except I can't find it at this point in time, and I might be thinking of a different platform, and I didn't have time to check because I just remembered it as I was putting it together here. So I will check on that more. Here I will turn to the Australian institution who has been heavily involved in this, and that is Novati. They have just published an annual report. The Reserve Bank of Australia has just published a report on CBDCs too. Project Acadia has been talking about banking the unbanked, which also ties into APFII and can get expanded again into XLM and SHX. As of a few days ago, the price of Novati had spiked up, and it was probably tied into the publications and their involvement with the RBA. As of right now, it has come back down. It is up about 42% in 1 month. And as a financial institution stock, that is pretty eye-opening. However, except if we compare what the price is now compared to what it was in about 2021 and 2022 when the APFII pilot was taking place. it has come down a ton. It is also interesting that we have a financial statement that seems to call out how they do not have a ton of equity at this time. According to the report here, it says it only has about 241,000 in equity compared to 1 year ago where it had about 15 million. So that's pretty interesting with all of the involvement in the AUDD. And if you check out a chart, pair prices tanked at the exact same time as the end of their fiscal year. And as far as the involvement of XRPL here, it does appear to not be involved in the implementation of the AUDD at this time, which can be confirmed on the XRPL Explorer. And it appears that Ripple is not interested in promoting the XRPL here in this application either. In fact, the AUDD team also complained about that. So I'm not too sure about what this means in terms of the long-term involvement of the XRPL here. All I can say is that right now it appears as if Stellar and Hedera are the ones in charge of the show. In the World Payment Report that came out in September of 2024, Capgemini contributors in the Australian CBDC pilot. And if we just check out the overview of the report, it calls out how institutions have to adopt a multi-rail payments approach. And it also calls out how it has to be enabled because of open banking, which I just talked about that in terms of XLM and SHX.